Hello, Mrs. O'Neill. This is my excellence component assignment for this course, Professional Selling. Today, you will be observing an interview with a potential employer that will be played by myself being given to a potential employee played by myself as well. Hello, Mr. Vivas. My name is Ryan, and I will be conducting your interview. How are you today? Well, hello, Ryan. Thank you very much for inviting me to this interview. I am doing very well. How about you? I am doing very well, Mr. Vivas. Thank you very much for asking. In this interview, I am going to ask you a couple of questions. Let's start with the first one. Describe any accomplishments and awards that you have earned. Well, I would say that's a great way of starting this interview. An amazing award that I achieved a couple of years ago was when I graduated from high school. I was able to obtain the Academic Achievement and Excellence Award for my high notes throughout my high school years. This was a very special award because, first of all, it opened many gates for me, and second of all, it was a publicly known achievement. My high school contained more than 800 students within the high school. So obtaining an award like this was a very, very high merit, especially because they only gave two of those to all of the high school academia. So that was for me one of my very special awards that also opened university doors as well, because I started receiving a lot of choices from Colombian universities that wanted to give me very, very abundant and generous scholarships. Thankfully, I wanted to study in the United States at a very well-known university called Full Sail University. This is why I declined those offers given to me by those Colombian universities, and I chose to travel all the way here to the United States and study in Full Sail University, which is one of the greatest. Oh, Mr. Vivas, well, congratulations on that achievement. That was a very good response. Moving on to the next question. How do you handle stress and pressure when it arrives? Well, in order to better answer this question, let me tell you a small anecdote of my life that relates to stress and pressure and how to effectively handle it. I started my own event production company when I was 17 years old. I started doing events, parties, galas, and every other sort of event that a juvenile in Colombia would pay for. When I became very popular, I eventually migrated my services into higher quality events such as fashion shows and senior proms. My first senior prom almost gave me a heart attack. The stress and the pressure of 50 parents that were part of the prom committee was very, very, very harsh. But that event gave me a huge lesson. And that lesson is that the stress and the pressure lives inside of your head. It does not live on the outer environment. Therefore, you can choose to either express it in an aggressive way that will potentially damage the result of the commercial activity that you are doing at the moment, or you can suppress it or even expel it in different ways. What I did in that precise prom, believe it or not, is that I went outside of the venue and I started jogging in my suit. I jogged for approximately 25 minutes. After that, I felt so tired that I just didn't have energies to be stressed anymore. In the end, the event ended in a very profitable and elegant and successful way. So all of that stress was inside of me for nothing. After that, I started handling stress and pressure differently. I knew that stress and pressure was just a state of mind. and that if I decided to buy into that stress and pressure, it was only going to be worse. It was not going to be beneficial. Stress and pressure was not going to make my situation better. So nowadays, I suppress stress and pressure. I deliver it into other areas: exercise, meditation, yoga, stuff like that. And it has been very beneficial for me ever since that first very big stress and pressure event that happened on my first prom. Wow, Mr. Vivas, that's a great story and definitely a great way to handle stress and pressure. Let's move on to the next question. Describe a goal that you did not meet, and how did you handle not meeting that goal? Well, when I started my event production company, a very, very crucial goal that I wanted to achieve was to produce 8 senior proms by the second year of conception of the company. The first year, I was able to do 4, so I was on the right track. But in the second year, I only did 5, which means that I missed my goal by 3 senior proms. Now, I was working incredibly hard to gain the attention of the prom committees of the high schools around the city, but I wasn't being successful. Of course, I felt bad when I did not meet this goal, but I didn't let that failure stop me. I walked on top of that failure, and surprisingly enough, that happened for a reason. Thanks to the fact that I wasn't able to produce those senior proms and that other companies were producing those senior proms, I was the center of attention in the city for fashion shows. In Colombia, high schools do a lot of fashion shows in order to save funds for their trips and their other activities. Thanks to the fact that I did not achieve my initial goal of 8 senior proms, I was able to do 6 fashion shows on that year, and therefore start a new line of business, which was the production of fashion shows in the city. Wow, that's very interesting, especially because it demonstrates how sometimes we focus on a goal and we do not realize at first that that can open other doors for us, right? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Describe a goal that you did achieve and how did you handle it? A goal, and a very important one, that I achieved was entering Full Sail University with scholarships. I applied to Full Sail University over 1 year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And my main goal was to be able to collect as much scholarships as possible, and I did it. I collected a very good amount of scholarships, and I did not let that blur my mind. I still knew that I had to go in there and be the best student of all the career and of all the university. And I think that's the way I handled it. I didn't let that success of that initial goal blind me and make me believe that I could just be a lazy student because I already had scholarships. Totally the contrary. I knew that I had to excel in order to maintain those scholarships. Wow, well, congratulations on that, on achieving that goal. Let's move on to the next question. When you're working on multiple projects, how do you prioritize them? Well, let me give you an actual time when I was working on multiple projects and I had to prioritize them. On my first year of Full Sail University, last year, I was working very hard, studying very hard on my classes, and I also had my company in Colombia. On the month of June and July, which is prom season, I was producing 12 senior proms, and I was also studying. So I had many goals. A, getting an A plus on both of my classes at the time, and B, making the best 12 events that I could make. I, of course, was very, very precise in how to produce the events and was very precise in how to be successful in the classes. For the classes, it was my priority. I prioritized them, of course, but I did not let my vision blur over the other events because education always goes first. So I prioritized them by putting myself in front of the situation, also delegating to my employees in Colombia for them to know how to do their exact job, and by having fun. You cannot stress when you have multiple goals in front of you. You have to enjoy them. They're part of life. Well, that is true. Juan Manuel, thank you very much for this interview and thank you for your time. Thank you, Ryan, for this interview. It was a pleasure.